Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Bibliobibbly and Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows. Anyway, thank you to everyone for joining the live stream yesterday. We read 3 chapters. It was a marathon. It was awesome. 3 big, booming chapters right in a row.
The live stream was cut short, though, because our internet decided to go out.
Yes. And we apologize for that. Our internet went out. And when it came back...
Yeah, it was a while. So, most everyone left, so we just ended it there.
Yeah. So our apologies for the internet issue.
But thank you for everyone who came out.
Yes.
We're sorry we left you so abruptly.
We wanted to say goodbye.
But at least we got the 3 chapters in. That's the important thing.
Yeah, we got the 3 chapters read. So, recap of what we learned last time.
Last time we learned that Ron's back. Harry has the Sword of Gryffindor now. And we're still wondering who the Doe Patronus belongs to that led him to the sword.
Yes, we don't know the identity of who cast the Patronus.
It was just... yeah, I don't know.
We don't know. We found out how the Deluminator worked. We found out that Harry Potter's house is still in ruins as a monument.
Yes.
And that...
well, that was like 3 chapters ago.
I
was just talking about last chapter. Yeah.
Okay, last chapter.
Chapter, Harry stood guard. He saw the Patronus, went to the pool of water, wasn't a leak, and jumped in, almost died because the Horcrux tried to kill him, but Ron saved his life because Ron used the Deluminator to track down Harry and Hermione and was waiting for them to show themselves, which he did because he tracked down the Doe and went to the pool where he found Gryffindor's sword, and then he pulls them out. He destroys the Horcrux with the Sword of Gryffindor. Ron does.
Yeah.
That's how it was supposed to be.
Yes.
And Harry had some light shown on why Ron is so salty all the time, because Ron thinks that Harry and Hermione are a thing, or could possibly be a thing.
He was always insecure and scared that he would never be able to measure up to Harry Potter and that Hermione would pick Harry in the end.
Yes.
And Harry had to reassure him, like, no, dude, she's like my sister.
Yeah.
I want your sister.
I want someone like your sister.
Not the girl I think of as my sister. Come on.
And we theorize that the only reason Ron is so cool with Harry being with Ginny is so that Harry would leave Hermione alone. Or Ron, leave Hermione alone. In Ron's mind.
But either way, the Horcrux is destroyed. They have the Sword of Gryffindor. Ron is back. Oh, and Harry's wand is still broken. But Ron shows up with a backup wand for Harry.
Yes.
So there's that. And Hermione is very, very angry.
Oh, yes, that was another thing. Hermione was very angry at Ron.
She went full Mrs. Weasley on him.
Oh, yeah.
Nagini wore a Bathilda beanie in one of the last ones.
Bathilda skin suit.
Yes.
Mighty Morphin Power Corpses.
Mighty Morphin Power Corpses. I'm trying to think of one for Transformers for the theme song. It's definitely
Transcorpsers. Big snakes in disguise.
Big snakes in disguise. More than meets the eye. Nagini wages battle to destroy the evil forces of Harry Potter.
Harry Potter.
Sorry, that took a minute. Chapter 20. Xenophilius Lovegood. Harry had not expected Hermione's anger to abate overnight, and was therefore unsurprised when she communicated mainly through dirty looks and pointed silences the next morning. Ron responded by maintaining an unnaturally sombre demeanour in her presence as an outward sign of continuing remorse. In fact, when all three of them were together, Harry felt like the only non-mourner at a poorly attended funeral. During those few moments he spent alone with Harry, however, collecting water and searching the undergrowth for mushrooms, Ron became shamelessly cheery. "Someone helped us," he kept saying. "Someone sent that dough. Someone's on our side. One Horcrux down, mate." Bolstered by the destruction of the locket, they set to debating the possible locations of the other Horcruxes, and even though they had discussed the matter so often before, Harry felt optimistic, certain that more breakthroughs would succeed the first. Hermione's stockiness did not mar his buoyant spirits. The sudden upswing in their fortunes, the appearance of the mysterious doe, the recovery of Gryffindor's sword, and above all Ron's return, made Harry so happy that it was quite difficult to maintain a straight face. Late in the afternoon he and Ron escaped Hermione's baleful presence again, and under the pretence of scouring the bare hedges for non-existent blackberries, they continued their ongoing exchange of news. Harry had finally managed to tell Ron the whole story of his and Hermione's various wanderings, right up to the full story of what happened at Godric's Hollow. Ron was now filling in Harry on everything that he'd discovered about the widening wizarding world during his weeks away. "And how did you find out about the taboo?" he asked Harry after explaining the many desperate attempts of Muggleborns to evade the Ministry. "The what? You and Hermione have stopped saying you-know-who's name." "Oh, yeah, well, it's a bad habit we've slipped into," said Harry. "But I haven't got a problem calling him No!" roared Ron, causing Harry to jump into the hedge, and Hermione, nose buried in a book at the tent entrance, to scowl over at them. "Sorry," said Ron, wrenching Harry back out of the brambles. "But the name's been jinxed, Harry. That's how they track people. Using his name breaks protective enchantments. It causes some kind of magical disturbance. It's how they found us in Tottenham Court Road." "Because we used his name?" "Exactly! You've got to give him credit. It makes sense. It was only people who were serious about standing up to him like Dumbledore who ever dared use it. Now they've put a taboo on it. Anyone who says it is trackable. Quick and easy way to find Order members. They nearly got Kingsley." "You're kidding." "Yeah, a bunch of Death Eaters cornered him," Bill said, "but he fought his way out. He's on the run now, just like us." Ron scratched his chin thoughtfully with the end of his wand. "You don't reckon Kingsley could have sent that dough?" "His Patronus is a lynx. We saw it at the wedding, remember?" "Oh, yeah." They moved farther along the hedge, away from the tent and Hermione. "Harry, you don't reckon it could have been Dumbledore?" "Dumbledore what?" Ron looked a little embarrassed, but said in a low voice, "Dumbledore. The doe, I mean." Ron was searching Harry out of the corners of his eyes. "He had the real sword last, didn't he?" Harry did not laugh at Ron, because he understood too well the longing behind that question. The idea that Dumbledore had managed to come back to them, that he was watching over them, would have been inexpressibly comforting. He shook his head. "Dumbledore's dead," he said. "I saw it happen. I saw the body. He's definitely gone. Anyway, his Patronus was a phoenix, not a doe." "Patronuses can change, though, can't they?" said Ron. "Tonks's changed, didn't it?" "Yeah, but if Dumbledore was alive, why wouldn't he show himself? Why wouldn't he just hand us the sword?" "Search me," said Ron. "Same reason he didn't give it to you while he was alive. Same reason he left you an old snitch and Hermione a load of kids' stories." "Which is what?" said Harry, turning to look Ron full in the face, desperate for the answer. "I dunno," said Ron. "Sometimes I've thought, when I've been a bit hacked off, he was having a laugh, or he just wanted to make it more difficult. But I don't think so, not anymore. He knew what he was doing when he gave me the Deluminator, didn't he? Well..." Ron's ears turned bright red, and he became engrossed in a tuft of grass at his feet, which he prodded with his toe. "He must have known I'd run out on you." "No," Harry corrected him. "He must have known you'd always want to come back." Ron looked grateful, but still awkward. Partly to change the subject, Harry said, "Speaking of Dumbledore, have you heard what Skeeter wrote about him?" "Oh, yeah," said Ron at once. "People are talking quite a bit about it. Of course, if things were different, it'd be huge news, Dumbledore being pals with Grindelwald. But now it's just something to laugh about for people who didn't like Dumbledore, and a bit of a slap in the face for anyone who thought he was such a good bloke. I don't know that it's such a big deal, though. He was really young when they—" "Our age," said Harry, just as he had retorted to Hermione, and something in his face seemed to decide Ron against pushing the subject. A large spider sat in the middle of a frosted web in the brambles. Harry took aim at it with the wand Ron had given him the previous night, which Hermione had since condescended to examine and had decided it was made of blackthorn. Engorgio! The spider gave a little shiver, bounced slightly in the web. Harry tried again. This time the spider grew slightly larger. "Stop that!" said Ron sharply. "I'm sorry I said Dumbledore was young, okay?" Harry had forgotten Ron's hatred of spiders. "Sorry. Reducio." The spider did not shrink. Harry looked down at the blackthorn wand. Every minor spell he had cast with it so far that day had seemed less powerful than those he'd produced with his phoenix wand. The new one felt intrusively unfamiliar, like having someone else's hand sewn to the end of his arm. "You just need practice," said Hermione, who had approached them noiselessly from behind and had stood watching anxiously as Harry tried to enlarge and reduce the spider. "It's all a matter of confidence, Harry." He knew why she wanted it to be all right. She still felt guilty about breaking his wand. He bit back the retort that sprang to his lips, that she could take the blackthorn wand if she thought it made no difference, and he would have hers instead. Keen for them all to be friends again, however, he agreed. But when Ron gave Hermione a tentative smile, she stalked off and vanished behind her book once more. All three of them returned to the tent when darkness fell, and Harry took first watch. Sitting in the entrance, he tried to make the blackthorn wand levitate small stones at his feet, but his magic seemed clumsier and less powerful than it had done before. Hermione was lying on her bunk reading, while Ron, after many nervous glances at her, had taken a small wooden wireless out of his rucksack and started to try and tune it. "There's this one program," he told Harry in a low voice, "that tells the news like it really is. All the others are on you-know-whose side and are following the ministry line, but this one, you wait till you hear it, it's great. Only they can't do it every night. They have to keep changing locations in case they're raided, and need a password to tune in. Trouble is, I missed the last one." He drummed lightly on the top of the radio with his wand, muttering random words under his breath. He threw Hermione many covert glances, plainly fearing any angry outburst, but for all the notice she took of him, he might not have been there. For 10 minutes or so Ron tapped and muttered, Hermione turned the pages of the book, and Harry continued to practice with the blackthorn wand. Finally Hermione climbed down from her bunk. Ron ceased his tapping at once. "If it's annoying, I'll stop," he told Hermione nervously. Hermione did not deign to respond, but approached Harry. "We need to talk," she said. He looked at the book still clutched in her hand. It was The Life and Lies of Albus Dumbledore. "What?" he said apprehensively. It flew through his mind that there was a chapter on him in there. He was not sure he felt up to hearing Rita's version of his relationship with Dumbledore. Hermione's answer, however, was completely unexpected. "I want to go and see Xenophilius Lovegood." He stared at her. "Sorry?" "Xenophilius Lovegood, Luna's father. I want to go and talk to him." Why?" She took a deep breath as though bracing herself and said, "It's the mark. That mark in the Beetle the Bard. Look at this." She thrust The Life and Lies of Albus Dumbledore under Harry's unwilling eyes, and he saw a photograph of the original letter that Dumbledore had written Grindelwald, with Dumbledore's familiar, thin, slanting handwriting. He hated seeing absolute proof that Dumbledore had really written those words, that they had not been Rita's invention. "The signature," said Hermione. "Look at the signature, Harry." He obeyed. For a moment he had no idea what she was talking about, but, looking more closely with the aid of his lit wand, he saw that Dumbledore had replaced the A of Albus with a tiny version of the same triangular mark inscribed upon the Tales of Beetle the Bard. What are you—" said Ron tentatively, but Hermione quailed him with a look and turned back to Harry. "It keeps cropping up, doesn't it?" she said. "I know Victor said it was Grindelwald's mark, but it was definitely on that old grave in Godric's Hollow, and the dates on the headstone were long before Grindelwald came along. And now this. Well, we can't ask Dumbledore or Grindelwald what it means. I don't even know whether Grindelwald's still alive. But we can ask Mr. Lovegood. He was wearing the symbol at the wedding. I'm sure this is important, Harry." Harry did not answer immediately. He looked into her intense, eager face, then out into the surrounding darkness, thinking. After a long pause he said, "Hermione, we don't need another Godric's Hollow. We talked ourselves into going there and—" "But it keeps appearing, Harry. Dumbledore left me the Tales of Beetle the Bard. How do you know we're not supposed to find out about the sign?" "Here we go again." Harry felt slightly exasperated. "We keep trying to convince ourselves that Dumbledore left us secret signs and clues." "The Deluminator turned out to be pretty useful," piped up Ron. I think Hermione's right. I think we need to go and see Lovegood. Harry threw him a dark look. He was quite sure that Ron's support of Hermione had little to do with a desire to know the meaning of the triangular rune. It won't be like Godric's Hollow, Ron added. Lovegood's on your side. Harry, the Quibbler's been with you all along. It keeps telling everyone they've got to help you. I'm sure this is important, said Hermione earnestly. But don't you think if it was, Dumbledore would have told me about it before he died? Maybe. Maybe it's something you need to find out for yourself, said Hermione with a faint air of clutching at straws. Yeah, said Ron sycophantically. That makes sense. No, it doesn't, said Hermione. But I still think we ought to talk to Mr. Lovegood. A symbol that links Dumbledore, Grindelwald, and Godric's Hollow. Harry, I'm sure we ought to know about this. I think we should vote on it, said Ron. Those in favour of going to see Lovegood. His hand flew into the air before Hermione's. Her lip quivered suspiciously as she raised her own. Voted, Harry. Sorry, said Ron, clapping him on the back. Fine, said Harry, half amused, half irritated. Only once we've seen Lovegood, let's try and look for some more Horcruxes, shall we? Where do the Lovegoods live, anyway? Do either of you know? Yeah, they're not far from my place, said Ron. I don't know exactly where, but Mum and Dad always point toward the hills whenever they mention them. Shouldn't be hard to find. When Hermione had returned to her bunk, Harry lowered his voice. You only agreed to try and get back in her good books. All's fair in love and war, said Ron brightly, and this is a bit of both. Cheer up, it's the Christmas holidays. Luna'll be home. They had an excellent view of the village of Ottery St. Catchpole from the breezy hillside to which they disapparated the next morning. From their high vantage point the village looked like a collection of toy houses in the high slanting shafts of sunlight stretching to earth in the breaks between clouds. They stood for a moment or two looking toward the burrow. Their hands shadowed their eyes, but all they could make out were the high hedges and trees of the orchard, which afforded the crooked little house protection from Muggle eyes. It's weird being this near, not being able to visit, said Ron. Well, it's not like you hadn't just seen them. You were there for Christmas, said Hermione coldly. I wasn't at the burrow, said Ron with an incredulous laugh. Do you think I was going back there and tell them all I'd walked out on you? Yeah, Fred and George would have been great about it, and Ginny, she'd have been really understanding. Well, where have you been then? Said Hermione, surprised. Bill and Fleur's new place, Shell Cottage. Bill's always been decent to me. He wasn't impressed when he heard what I'd done, but he didn't go on about it. He knew I was really sorry. None of the rest of the family knew I was there. Bill told Mum he and Fleur weren't going home for Christmas because they wanted to spend it alone. You know, first holiday after they were married. I don't think Fleur minded. You know how much she hates Celestina Warbeck. Ron turned his back on the burrow. Let's try up here, he said, leading the way over the top of the hill. They walked for a few hours, Harry, at Hermione's insistence, hidden beneath the invisibility cloak. The cluster of low hills appeared to be uninhabited, apart from one small cottage which seemed deserted. Do you think it's theirs and they've gone away for Christmas? Said Hermione, peering through the window at a neat little kitchen with geraniums on the window-sill. Ron snorted. Listen, I've got a feeling you'd be able to tell who lived there if you looked through the Lovegood's window. Let's try the next lot of hills. So they disapparated a few miles further north. Aha! Shouted Ron, as the wind whipped their hair and clothes. Ron was pointing upward toward the top of the hill on which they had appeared, where a most strange-looking house rose vertically against the sky, a great black cylinder with a ghostly moon hanging behind it in the afternoon sky. That's got to be Luna's house. Who else would live in a place like that? It looks like a giant rook. It's nothing like a bird, said Hermione, frowning at the tower. I was talking about a chess rook, said Ron. A castle to you? Ron's legs were the longest, and he reached the top of the hill first. When Harry and Hermione caught up with him, panting and clutching stitches in their sides, they found him grinning broadly. It's theirs, said Ron. Look. 3 hand-painted signs had been tacked to a broken-down gate. The first read, The Quibbler, Editor, ex Lovegood. The second, Pick your own mistletoe. The third, Keep off the dirigible plums. The gates creaked as they opened it. The zigzagging path leading up the front door was overgrown with a variety of odd plants, including a bush covered in the orange radish-like fruit Luna sometimes wore as earrings. Harry thought he recognized a snargaluff and gave the wizened stump a wide berth. 2 aged crabapple trees, bent with the wind, stripped of leaves but heavy with berry-sized red fruits, and bushy crowns of white beaded mistletoe stood sentinel on either side of the front door. A little owl with a slightly flattened hawk-like head peered down at them from one of the branches. "You better take off the invisibility cloak, Harry," said Hermione. "It's you Mr. Lovegood wants to help, not us." He did as she suggested, handing her the cloak to stow in the beaded bag. She then rapped 3 times on the thick black door, which was studded with iron nails and bore a knocker shaped like an eagle. Barely 10 seconds passed when the door flew open, and there stood Xenophilius Lovegood, barefoot and wearing what appeared to be a stained nightshirt. His long white candy-floss hair was dirty and unkempt. Xenophilius had been positively dapper at Bill and Fleur's wedding by comparison.
What is it? Who are you? What do you want?"
he cried in a high-pitched, querulous voice, looking first at Hermione, then at Ron, and finally at Harry, upon which his mouth fell open in a perfect comical O. "Hello, Mr. Lovegood," said Harry, holding out his hand. "I'm Harry Potter." Xenophilius did not take Harry's hand, although the eye that was not pointing inward at his nose slid straight to the scar on Harry's forehead. "Would it be okay if we came in?" said Harry. "There's something we'd like to ask you."
I'm not sure if that's advisable,"
whispered Xenophilius. He swallowed and cast a quick look round the garden.
"Rather a shock. My word, I'm afraid I don't really think I ought to."
"It won't take long," said Harry, slightly disappointed by his less than warm welcome.
Oh, all right then. Come in quickly, quickly."
They were barely over the threshold when Xenophilius slammed the door shut behind them. They were standing in the most peculiar kitchen Harry had ever seen. The room was perfectly circular, so that it felt like being inside a giant pepper pot. Everything was curved to fit the walls. The stove, the sink, and the cupboards, and all of it had been painted with flowers, insects, and birds in bright primary colours. Harry thought he recognised Luna's style. The effect in such an enclosed space was slightly overwhelming. In the middle of the floor, a wrought iron spiral staircase led to the upper levels. There was a great deal of clattering and banging coming from overhead. Harry wondered what Luna could be doing.
"You'd better come up,"
said Xenophilius, looking extremely uncomfortable, and he led the way. The room above seemed to be a combination of living room and workplace, and as such was even more cluttered than the kitchen. Though much smaller and entirely round, the room somewhat resembled the room of requirement on the unforgettable occasion that it had transformed itself into a gigantic labyrinth comprised of centuries-old objects. There were piles upon piles of books and papers on every surface. Delicately made models of creatures Harry did not recognize, all flapping wings or snapping jaws, hung from the ceiling. Luna was not there. The thing that was making such a racket was a wooden object covered in magically churning cogs and wheels. It looked like the bizarre offspring of a workbench and a set of old shelves, but after a moment Harry deduced that it was an old-fashioned printing press, due to the fact that it was churning out quibblers.
"Excuse me,"
said Xenophilius, and he strode over to the machine, seized a grubby tablecloth from beneath an immense number of books and papers, which all tumbled to the floor, and threw it over the press, somewhat muffling the loud bangs and clatters. He then faced Harry.
"Why have you come here?"
Before Harry could speak, however, Hermione let out a small cry of shock.
"Mr. Lovegood, what's that?"
She was pointing at an enormous grey spiral horn, not unlike that of a unicorn, which had been mounted on the wall, protruding several feet into the room.
"It's the horn of a crumple-horned snorkeck," said Xenophilius.
"No, it isn't," said Hermione. "Hermione," muttered Harry, embarrassed. "Now's not the moment."
"But, Harry, it's an irrumpent horn. It's a Class B tradable material, and it's an extremely dangerous thing to have in a house."
"How do you know it's an irrumpent horn?" asked Ron, edging away from the horn as fast as he could, given the extreme clutter of the room.
"There's a description in Fantastic Beasts and where to find them. Mr. Lovegood, you need to get rid of it straight away. Don't you know it can explode at the slightest touch?" "The crumple-horned snorkeck," said Xenophilius very clearly, a mullish look on his face, "is a shy and highly magical creature, and its horn—"
"Mr. Lovegood, I recognise the groove markings round the base. That's an irrumpent horn, and it's extremely dangerous. I don't know where you got it."
"I bought it," said Xenophilius dogmatically, 2 weeks ago, from a delightful young wizard who knew of my interest in the exquisite snorkeck. A Christmas present for my Luna. Now," he said, turning to Harry, Why exactly have you come here, Mr. Potter?"
"We need some help," said Harry before Hermione could start again.
"Ah," said Xenophilius. "Help.
His good eye moved again to Harry's scar. He seemed simultaneously terrified and mesmerized.
"Yes, the thing is, helping Harry Potter, rather dangerous."
"Aren't you the one who keeps telling everyone it's their first duty to help Harry?" said Ron. "In that magazine of yours?" Xenophilius glanced behind him at the concealed printing press, still banging and clattering beneath the tablecloth.
Yes, I have expressed that view. However—"
"That's for everyone else to do, not you personally," said Ron. Xenophilius did not answer. He kept swallowing, his eyes darting between the three of them. Harry had the impression that he was undergoing some painful internal struggle. "Where's Luna?" said Hermione. "Let's see what she thinks." Xenophilius gulped. He seemed to be steeling himself. Finally he said in a shaky voice, difficult to hear over the noise of the printing press,
"Luna is down at the stream, fishing for freshwater plimpies. She will like to see you. I'll go and call her, and then— Yes, very well. I will try to help you."
He disappeared down the spiral staircase, and they heard the front door open and close. They looked at each other. "Cowardly old wart," said Ron. "Luna's got 10 times his guts." "He's probably worried about what'll happen to them if the Death Eaters find out I was here," said Harry. "Well, I agree with Ron," said Hermione. "Awful old hypocrite telling everyone else to help you and trying to worm out of it himself. And for heaven's sake, keep away from that horn." Harry crossed over to the window on the far side of the room. He could see a stream, a thin glittering ribbon lying far below them at the base of the hill. They were very high up. A bird fluttered past the window as he stared in the direction of the burrow, now invisible beyond another line of hills. Ginny was over there somewhere. They were closer to each other today than they'd been since Bill and Fleur's wedding, but she could have no idea he was gazing toward her now, thinking of her. He supposed he ought to be glad of it. Anyone who came into contact was in danger. Xenophilius's attitude proved that. He turned away from the window, and his gaze fell upon another peculiar object standing upon the cluttered, curved sideboard. A stone bust of a beautiful but austere-looking witch wearing a most bizarre-looking headdress. 2 objects that resembled golden ear trumpets curved out from the sides. A tiny pair of glittering blue wings was stuck to a leather strap that ran over the top of her head, while one of the orange radishes had been stuck to a second strap round her forehead. "Look at this," said Harry. "Fetching," said Ron. "Surprised he didn't wear that to the wedding." They heard the front door close, and a moment later Xenophilius had climbed back up the spiral staircase into the room, his thin legs now encased in Wellington boots, bearing a tray of ill-assorted teacups and a steaming teapot.
"Ah, you've spotted my pet invention,"
he said, shoving the tray into Hermione's arms and joining Harry at the statue's side.
"Modelled fittingly enough upon the head of the beautiful Rowena Ravenclaw. Wit beyond measure is man's greatest treasure."
He indicated the objects like ear trumpets.
"These are the Raxpert siphons, to remove all sources of distraction from the thinker's immediate area. Here," he pointed at the tiny wings, "a billywig propeller to induce an elevated frame of mind. Finally," he pointed to the orange radish, "the dirigible plum, so as to enhance the ability to accept the extraordinary."
Xenophilius strode back to the tea tray, which Hermione had managed to balance precariously on one of the cluttered side tables.
"May I offer you an infusion of Gurdy roots?" said Xenophilius. "We make it ourselves."
As he started to pour out the drink, which was as deeply purple as beetroot juice, he added,
"Luna is down beyond the bottom bridge. She is most excited that you are here. She ought not to be too long. She has caught enough plimpies to make soup for all of us. Do sit down and help yourselves to sugar. Now,"
he removed a tottering pile of papers from an armchair and sat down, his Wellington legs crossed.
"How may I help you, Mr. Potter?"
"Well," said Harry, glancing at Hermione, who nodded encouragingly, "it's about the symbol you were wearing round your neck at Bill and Fleur's wedding, Mr. Lovegood. We wondered what it meant." Xenophilius raised his eyebrows.
"Are you referring to the sign of the Deathly Hallows?"
Oh, okay. Roll credits.
"Yep."
Yeah, his house is kind of what I would think of.
When you would think of what their house would be like.
Yeah. He has a bunch of cool stuff, but he doesn't know what any of the cool stuff is.
He thinks it's something else.
Yeah.
An erumpent horn.
Right? That sounds like it's pretty cool, but obviously dangerous, but at least know what you got.
No, it's a crumplehorn snorkeg horn. It's not an erumpent horn. No.
And they're so shy you can't find them, but if they have a horn that's several feet long,
yeah,
curling, like, I don't think it'd be that hard to find them. Although I did think it was funny that Harry gave the stump a wide berth. Like, some of the stuff that Luna said is, like, seeped into his mind.
Yes. He just can't help himself.
There's been a few times where he noticed it. Like, when Luna was dancing.
Yeah. Crumb is like, what is she doing? Oh, she's trying to get rid of wax birds. It's fine.
I've seen the symptoms.
I've seen the symptoms. Yeah, Harry just takes in a little bit of it. He just accepts Luna and all of her strangeness and just... Whereas Hermione is just very firmly just... No. I love Luna, Harry's relationship with Luna and how she's influenced him, I guess.
Yeah. I wish J.K. Rowling made like a Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them, but like by Xenophilius Lovegood.
Oh my god.
Have a Xenophilius Lovegood version.
Oh my god. That'd be great.
Right?
That would be awesome. All the things that they're always talking about. Oh, that'd be awesome. Raxbirds, crumplehorn snorkegs. All those stuffs.
Mm-hmm.
Dirigible plums. Now we know what those radishes are. They're dirigible plums.
You can call it Astounding Creatures and Why I Haven't Found Them.
Yeah. Very interesting that Xenophilius is apparently been on and on and on about help Harry, help Harry, help Harry. Harry actually shows up and he's like,
I was telling other people to help you.
I don't know.
I didn't think you were actually going to
show up at my house and ask me. But at least Luna's home, right?
Right. Maybe. We haven't seen her yet.
No, we haven't seen her yet. It's true.
I was half expecting Xenophilius to go down, say he was going to get Luna, and come back up and he's like a Death Eater or something. Using like Polyjuice potion.
Oh, and it was really a Death Eater.
Yeah, it was like a Harry. Trap.
Or maybe he like called the Death Eaters and brought them in or something.
I don't think he'd do that.
No.
No.
Yeah, maybe he's being a puss, but I don't think he would do that.
Yeah. Maybe I don't know. I don't think so though.
No, he's a good dude, right?
Yeah.
I also love at the beginning of this chapter where Harry is like, "You only agreed with Hermione so that you could get back in her good graces," and Ron was like, "You bet your ass I did." All is fair in love and war, and this is both. So yes.
So matter-of-factly, yes I did. What would you do? What would you do if it was Ginny?
Right. I just love that Ron finally is just open about it. Like, yeah, I'm kissing Hermione's butt big time.
Yeah. Maybe now they can finally be together, now that Ron doesn't feel like it has to be a secret.
Or it is feeling weirdly conflicted because he thinks Harry could be his competition, or...
Yeah, I think that whole bro bonding moment with destroying the Horcrux did them good.
I think also it finally hit Ron when he says, "When you say it like that, it sounds way cooler," and Harry's like, "I've been trying to tell you this forever. It always sounds cooler than it actually is." So I think Ron, having had a taste of what it is that Harry has been doing, he gets it now, and it's fine.
It's not all glitz and glamour.
No, it's pretty crappy most of the time, actually.
Ron only sees and hears about the highlights.
Right, because it's not like...
the months of camping in the mud.
Yeah. Well, even all the other things, right? Like, he didn't fight the basilisk. He didn't see how that all went down. He didn't see that Harry had a shitload of help.
Yep. He wasn't there all the times that he failed making the Patronus.
Yeah. Yeah, he wasn't there every single how many lessons he and Lupin had where Harry ended up, like, screaming on the floor.
Yeah.
So, but now he finally knows. I also find it very interesting, the discussions about the wand and how Harry feels about the wand that he's got now.
It's not the same.
And Hermione's just like, no, it's just about confidence. It's about confidence, it's fine. Harry's like, this isn't my wand. It didn't choose me.
I want one that wants me.
But what does that say about what's going to happen with the fight with Voldemort? The inevitable fight with Voldemort. Harry's magic, like, he can't.
Oh, Harry's dead. If Harry can't get a new wand, he's dead.
How's he going to get a new wand?
He's gonna have to travel to America and find a wand maker over here. Or Canada. Or Africa. He's gonna have to go to, was it Africa where they don't use wands?
Yeah.
Yeah, he's just gonna have to go down there and learn how to do magic with his hands.
Yeah, I don't know. This is just a kind of a short chapter. They just went to Xenophilius' house and that's it.
Mm-hmm.
And Xenophilius said, what? The Deathly Hallows? You mean the Deathly Hallows symbol? That?
And it all comes together.
What does that mean? What are the Deathly Hallows? What does it have to do with the triangular eye thing?
Is it like Godric's Hollow, and then some other hollow, and then another hollow, and in the middle is the Deathly Hallows?
Well, I can show you the picture of what it looks like, just because showing you the picture isn't like... Just so you get a visual of this is what they've been seeing the whole time.
Looks like the Sorting Hat.
Oh, God.
You must reach deep inside the Sorting Hat
To find the Deathly Hallows. I don't know.
Yeah, it might just be triangulating positions.
Well, Deathly Hallows are... We talked about Hallows, right? Revered. Revered holy objects.
Yes.
Of deathliness.
So I'm saying we had Godric's Hollow. Maybe there's two other Hallows.
Hallowed Hollows?
Yes. Hallowed Hollows. That Harry must... I can't think of any good
but
puns for that.
What happened at Godric's Hollow? That would have been like one of the 3 points. What happened? He almost got killed.
Yeah. The grave with the
symbol on it
that Harry didn't want to pay any attention to.
Yes. Which you were very kind of salty about. Like, come on, Harry. Where's your curiosity now?
Yeah.
He's just not, like, he's not even, like, that curious about this. He didn't even want to go talk to Xenophilius Lovegood. He's just like, whatever, I don't care.
That was my point. I was just kind of zoned out for the last 5 minutes, because there's something I wanted to say. Then I forgot it. It's funny that now Ron and Hermione are all about, let's go, let's do this. And Harry's just, I don't know, guys. When before it was Harry, all right, we need to move here, we need to look for this. And they were just like, I'm getting sick of this, I don't know, Harry.
Yep.
And now it's just flip-flopped.
Yeah, Harry's like, this, we don't need the... Dumbledore said for a reason, look, it's everywhere. Dumbledore used the symbol, it's a thing. And Harry's like, we need to find another Horcrux.
Dumbledore said, yeah, okay, whatever.
Harry's just like, Dumbledore... He's just kind of like, F Dumbledore.
He also said he was a good person, but Rita Skeeters is different.
He's letting his emotions about Dumbledore get in the way of his judgments.
Maybe that's why Dumbledore was represented by a phoenix. He'd die and be reborn. He was a bad person. He was reborn as a good person.
Oh, maybe. He had to... grow and learn.
Yes.
Maybe the death of his sister and mother
Maybe the death of his sister killed him, and then he was reborn after Grindelwald's departure and everything else.
Aberforth, he didn't just break his nose, he literally killed him.
He sapped him back to reality a little bit.
Yes.
Maybe. Interesting. Oh.
I mean, with Aberforth, I guess it's... Dumbledore should count himself lucky that he just got punched and he didn't have goat poo thrown at him.
Or have his goats, like, attack him.
Yeah.
Or something, I don't know.
Just thinking of the lady who said that Aberforth threw
The goat poo
yeah.
at her.
Or it could just be like a creature thing. Every Christmas, just send him a box full of goat poo. Happy birthday, brother.
And Albus is just like, oh, again.
Oh, he got me chocolates. Oh, that's not chocolates.
I thought they were chocolate-covered espresso beans, but alas, they were not. How was he throwing the goat poo? Was he just, like, one at a time? Little pellets chucking?
Or was he just making it rain?
Yeah. What was he doing? How was he throwing the goat poo?
I don't know.
It's
And
not like...
I don't care to know, to be honest.
It's not like
He threw goat poo. What else do you need to know?
I'm just saying, because cow patties, it's like a big, like a pie, you know? Like, it's a big wad of...
It's like a clown throwing a pie, but less funny for the other person.
Right. Goat poo is like little bullets of things.
Maybe he had like a blowgun.
He
just put one in.
Yeah, I don't know. Making it rain goat poo.
That's what I mean.
Yeah,
Who knows?
We don't know. I don't know. We always come back to the goat poop goats. Every discussion lately, we always gotta talk about the goats.
Because the book always brings it up.
It's true, the book talks about it a lot.
And it's more and more often. Is Aberforth gonna show up? Is Aberforth still alive? Is one of the Hallows like Aberforth's Goat Hallow or something?
They have been bringing it up quite a lot in this book, haven't they?
Yeah.
Every time they read a chapter of the life and lives of Albus Dumbledore, or they talk about Dumbledore's life, they always are like, oh yes, and Aberforth and his goats.
Right? Screw Dumbledore. I want to know the life and lives of Aberforth.
What has he been doing for the past 100 years?
That wouldn't be a kid's book, I'll tell you that. Yeah, when did it first get brought up? It got brought up in like the third book. And then I think it... Was it the third? No, maybe the fourth book it was when it first got brought up.
No, I think Dumbledore mentions it prior to that. I think
he mentions Aberforth prior to that, but he mentions the goat. They're sitting around...
They're talking to Hagrid.
Yeah.
I think it's book 4, because Rita Skeeter wrote the article about Hagrid, and he feels all, like, terrible about it, and then...
Dumbledore comes and talks to them, and talks about his,
how his brother was in the news for an experiment with goats gone wrong.
Yes.
And he says he's not even sure if Aberforth can read.
Yep.
That's... yeah. And then I'm sure they mentioned it again in 5.
So yeah, I feel like they mentioned it once every book. I think the last book they mentioned it twice, and it feels like they've mentioned it like 4 times in this book.
It's been definitely at least twice.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's been mentioned a lot.
That's what I mean. It's just more and more.
Aberforth and the goats.
What's the next chapter?
The next chapter is called The Tale of the Three Brothers.
Aberforth? The Dumbledores?
There's only 2 of them.
That's true. Did Grindelwald have siblings?
I don't know.
I don't know.
I don't know either.
I jumped to the Dumbledores, but yeah, like you said, there's only 2, right?
Yeah. Aberforth, Albus, and then the sister. So that's it.
I'm just gonna have to say it was probably Grindelwald. So he had 2 other brothers or something.
I don't know.
Or does Luna have like 3 older brothers?
No.
No, then I don't know.
Luna would have
We'll
mentioned
go with that. Grindelwald.
So you think it's a real thing? Like real people? The tale of the 3 brothers?
Well, wouldn't it?
Also, can I just point out here real quick that that's the first image that you see.
Darn you, rolling. Right in the feels.
Right? The first illustration in the American edition, for those of you who do not have the American edition, it's a picture of Hedwig.
Mm-hmm.
It's the first picture.
And we got our own little Hedwig Christmas ornament, actually, we put up there.
Yes, we have a little Hedwig now. So yeah, chapter 21 will be the tale of the 3 brothers.
Alright then.
We are...
I don't really have anything else to put on that, so...
We are officially...
halfway through?
more than halfway through. Because we have 36 chapters in the book.
That's true, but in pages it looks like we're only halfway through, so... we might
Alright,
have
fair
some...
enough. Fair enough. We're on page 405 of...
We have some long chapters coming up.
There's of 759. Alright, everybody. Please like, comment, and subscribe. Don't spoil it. And join us for chapter 21, The Tale of the 3 Brothers. And keep off the dirigible plums.